Look, I hate to say it, but after all these years, Half-Life is starting to feel a little boring. I know the original game's inside out, and it's just getting harder to find good mods. This is why I started my journey a few months ago looking for games that are similar to Half-Life. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of these games out there, and I just simply call them Half-Likes. Some of them are fantastic, some of them are less so. If you haven't seen the previous episodes yet, I would recommend starting with those. And now, let's dive into today's first game, the strangest one so far, Messiah. This was recommended to me by one person over and over again. Yeah, they were really persistent about it. So, I had a look at the screenshots and it seemed like a third-person game, which, you know, is not exactly a Half-like. But at this point, I had no choice but to give it a try. I mean, this guy practically had a gun to my head. Well, okay, not literally, but it made me curious. Curious indeed. What's so special about this game? There must be something, right? It looked weird, obscure, and janky, so definitely something I would enjoy. Messiah was developed by StranniK, the same people behind some of my bizarre favorites, like Earthworm Jim and MDK. The game is set in a dystopian future, yeah, like 90% of the Half-Likes usually. An evil dictator named Father Prime rules Earth with an iron fist, and no, Father Prime is not Jeff Bezos. God, yeah, like actually God, decides that the situation is not exactly ideal, so he sends one of his angels down to Earth to cleanse the planet. That angel is a tiny dude named Bob. Yeah, just Bob. The moment I watched the intro cutscene, I knew that this game was gonna be legendary. It's goofy, lame, and I just love it. Also, fun fact, it's the birthplace of the oof meme. That must be some serious bonus points, right? So, the main gimmick of Messiah is possession. Bob can't exactly fight directly. I mean, just look at this guy. Small, fat, and out of shape. I feel like we could be twins. That means most of the times we will not play as Bob, but rather someone else. We can jump into the bodies of soldiers, technicians, scientists, and sometimes even rats to get into smaller places. And honestly, this mechanic is insanely cool, especially for a game from 2000. I've never really played anything with a similar concept, so I was definitely surprised. Each character we possess has unique abilities. For example, soldiers can shoot, but cannot activate some switches. Scientists, on the other hand, can flip switches, but cannot fight. That means we constantly need to hop between bodies to solve puzzles and progress. However, some sections do require us to stay as Bob. He can flap his little wings to fly, which looks and sounds hilarious. Oof! And even though he's not much of a fighter, he's still surprisingly useful. The first half of the game is all about fighting our way through this cyberpunk city and hunting for Father Prime. And by fighting, I unfortunately mean gunfights. The problem is, Messiah's gunplay is a little awkward. We can enter a janky first-person mode, but aiming that way is painful. The only strategy that worked for me was possessing a soldier, fighting until he dies, grab another one, and repeat. Not sure if that's how it was intended, but hey, it works, so I don't care. I have a feeling that the devs realized that gunplay was a bit rough, because the game focuses more on puzzles and platforming, thankfully. The puzzles are surprisingly solid. Platforming, on the other hand, made me crash out a few times. The controls are super outdated. Even the slightest mouse movement will make your character turn, and that just makes these sensitive sections quite a nightmare. I'm not saying they are impossible, because, you know, spamming quick save and quick load always works. Until you load and the game decides to crash. Love that. Anyway, let's get back to the story. After landing on Earth, God gives Bob his first mission. We can check the objectives by pressing F5, and honestly, they are actually useful. First, we need to go through the loading dock, where I had the chance to experience how awful gunplay is. Just look. Then we venture to the labs, which has one of my favorite sections in the whole game. We need to take control of a rat and squeeze through a maze. I mean, come on, how cool is that? Next, take a trip to the commander's area, but hold on, not so fast. Cause every time I tried to enter this level, the game just crashed. Oh, here we go. The beauty of playing old games. After scouring some 20-year-old forums, I figured out a fix. I had to restart the game in safe mode, which means the lowest resolution, pitch black darkness, and absolutely no audio. Oh yeah, peak gameplay. Thankfully, it's only needed for this one level, so that's something, I guess. From here, we plunge into the sewers, befriend the mole people, hijack one of Prime's mutants, awesome, and finally, beat the crap out of Father Prime himself in an incredibly cinematic cutscene. So goofy, love it. And then, plot twist. Turns out, Satan was behind all of this. He manipulated Bob into killing Prime so he could take over Earth. Wow, unexpected. Of course, I didn't hear any of that, cause my sound was just gone during the cutscene. Anyway, God wants Bob to return to heaven, but hell no, I've got some unfinished business with Satan first.
I'm gonna put my foot up Satan's ass. That's what I'm gonna do!
The second half of the game ramps up in difficulty, but the levels get even cooler. We visit a red light district with some heavy Kingpin vibes. Watch my video on that, by the way. We hit a nightclub and even enter a dance contest, which was a little depressing without music. Again, I don't know why my audio is gone.
Damn, baby, you're good. Let's see you complete this.
And finally we storm Satan's moon base. I gotta say, this was one of the hardest boss fights I've ever played. His arena looks pretty amazing though. Okay, so what's the verdict? At first I hated Messiah. The clunky, outdated controls, the frustrating platforming, the awkward combat, it all just drove me insane. And I was honestly cursing this guy for recommending it to me. But it slowly started growing on me. Maybe it's the goofy cutscenes, the hilarious sound effects, or just the fact that there is nothing else quite like it. It's janky, it's clunky, but it's packed with cool ideas, especially for its time. And the soundtrack, when you can actually hear it, is pretty amazing. It was composed by Jasper Kidd, who is like a genius. I can only think about how perfect Messiah could be in 2025. If they ever made a remake or a remaster of this game, I would 100% play it. But the big question, is it a Half-like? No, I don't think so. Sure, there are puzzles and platforming sections, but the fact that you spend 99% of the game in third person makes it a no for me. That said, it does have some odd similarities. The setting, the fan mechanics, the creepy sewers. So, I don't know, maybe it is a Half-like? Whatever, you tell me. Next, here I was, thinking I knew every Source game. Well, turns out I was wrong, because I've definitely never heard about this one. E.Y.E Divine Cybermancy. This game is one of those rare cases where I can't decide whether I love it or just want to throw it into a Cyberpunk trash can or something. But hey, let's start from the beginning. The whole game takes place in this dystopian cyberpunk universe. Yeah, again, I feel like I shouldn't even say this anymore. In this world, we work for a super secret military cult called E.Y.E. It's full of these badass knight-looking dudes wielding katanas and machine guns. Yeah, Yeah, pretty cool if you ask me. But this game isn't just a shooter like the ones I usually cover. It's an FPS with RPG elements and even immersive sim mechanics. Okay, this sounds a little complex, so let me explain. There is a character creation system, skill points, leveling, spells, basically everything you would expect from an RPG. Okay, let's make a character.
Joe Biden.
The creation screen is actually quite decent. We can mix 3 different genes together to form a DNA. Each gene provides different powers and we can combine them however we want. Mental balance? Hacking? Nah, those sound like bullshit to me. Let's go full strength. Oh, here we go. This is what I always do in RPGs, and I always regret it. Once we are done playing Build-A-Bear, we wake up in some weird limbo dimension with an absolute banger of a soundtrack. Then cross the dark portal from WoW and we find ourselves in a cave. A quick tutorial follows and oh boy, it's everything but quick actually. We've got cyber powers like super sprinting and high jumps, psi abilities like teleportation and transmutation, plus a bunch of extra mechanics like hacking, drones, and it just keeps going. Make sure to actually read these even if it seems overwhelming because I didn't. Spoiler, it was a bad idea. Okay, but what is this game about exactly? Well, it seems like we messed up our last mission, nearly died, and just for fun, lost a chunk of our memory. After climbing the longest ladder in gaming history, we meet our teammate, Dutch.
Senor, por favor.
Damn, that's good. Dutch still has some business here, so he's gonna meet us back at the base. And then, finally, it's time to try out the gunplay. And I gotta say, it's pretty fun. Once we return to HQ, the game really starts to impress. Just look at this place. It's massive, atmospheric, and just beautiful. And the music is insanely good. We need to have a chat with both our mentor and Commander Rimana. Turns out, I is split into 2 factions. The Coulter, which is our group, and the Gian. And there is basically a civil war going on between these 2. Our mentor wants to unite both groups. On the other hand, Rimana wants to annihilate the Gian. Not cool. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the central conflict of the game. The dialogue options are mostly great. I love the fact that I could learn more about the lore and the universe if I wanted to. Due to the lot of choices you have to make, the game has multiple endings. So if you don't get burned out by all the mechanics, it's definitely worth a second playthrough. Anyway, back to the game. HQ is packed with vendors, NPCs, side quests, basically everything you would expect from a proper RPG hub. We can buy new cyber powers, psi abilities, upgrades, research projects, and whatever you can imagine. Lots of ways to spend our hard-earned money, which is called Bruzoof. I'm pretty sure that's not how you pronounce it. Which leads to my first major issue. These guys are actual scammers. Like, everything costs a fortune. 40,000 for one upgrade? Who's running this economy? I mean, what's gonna be next? $20 for a dozen eggs? Oh. Wait, never mind. So here's the thing. The only way to make real money is through side quests or by doing the thing I despise the most.
Drumroll, please.
Farming. God, I hate farming. Each mission starts with an armory, so make sure to stack up with guns and ammo before you jump in. Talking about guns, weapon variety is pretty great actually. You can go ranged, melee, or even stealth. Kind of. I'm saying kind of because it feels like the game wants you to sneak, but even with the cloak spell, enemies can hear you breathing from a mile away. I gotta say, I really like the levels themselves. There is a little bit of everything. We have neon lit cyberpunk cities with stunning visuals, creepy sewers with some serious Half-Life vibes, and Mars. Yeah, we go to Mars, and it's huge. Exploration does pay off. Levels are packed with secrets, side quests, and a ton of hackable objects. And now you might be thinking, everything you've said so far sounds amazing. Then why did you say you both love and hate this game? The thing is, E.Y.E is a game of extremes. The highs are fantastic and makes you feel like you're playing the best game ever. The atmosphere, the levels, the soundtrack and the whole setting is just perfect. But the lows are next level frustrating. Like throw your mouse out the window levels. Let's start with hacking. Hacking is crucial in this game if you want to open doors, make turrets friendly, and sometimes it's even needed for progression. This is how the menu for hacking looks. Your stats are on the left and the enemies are on the right. The goal is to drain the enemy's HP to 0. Simple, right? No, it's not. We have 5 abilities and each does something different. Attack is the way to do damage, obviously. Mask reduces the enemy's attack power, Scan reduces the enemy's defense, Shield increases our defense, and Overflow is kind of a trade-off. Increases damage but reduces defense. At first I was naive. I tried to play around with these, apply some logic to it, just build a strategy. Forget it, that's not gonna work. The whole thing is just an RNG nonsense. Spells can randomly fail, enemies can do critical damage, and it's just a mess. Oh, and if you fail and the enemy hacks you, you get this screen for about 3-4 minutes and cannot hack again. Come on, who could possibly think this was a good idea? And the fact that the respawning enemies can attack you while you're hacking just makes it even more infuriating. I know, I can already hear people saying, why didn't you buy the Cyber Butt Cheek level 56 upgrade because it would boost your hacking by 0.4%? Look, I'm broke, okay? Leave me alone. Right. So what is my second and even bigger problem? The save system. You get a limited number of resurrections per mission, and if you run out, it's over. Go back to the limbo dimension and restart the entire mission. This can be super fun for longer levels that can easily take 30 or even 40 minutes. Let me give you an example. I was playing the Mars mission, which is the longest one in the game, and I made it to about 90% of the level. This was when an NPC gave me a quest to kill 24 human beings as a sacrifice. Okay, cool. I started doing that, but for some reason the quest got bugged and I didn't get any credit. After killing about 100 enemies, I realized that this is not gonna work. And the only way to unbug it is, you guessed it, restart the whole mission. Wasted more than an hour. Awesome. Oh yeah, and of course, this system also means you cannot quit the game during the missions without losing progress. That's fine, I will just keep my PC running for the whole day. Okay, so what's the final verdict? E.Y.E is an awesome game with some genuinely fantastic game elements. The world is really unique. I would even say it's nothing like I've ever seen. The soundtrack is something I could just listen to for hours. It's truly exceptional. It's kinda sad that the team never really made another game similar to this one, because I feel like if they listened to the feedback, they could have improved this foundation a lot. However, I do think this game deserves a try. Just make sure to give it some time and don't rage quit. Especially not during a mission, because you will have to replay the whole thing. Haha, that's still too early. And the ultimate question, is it a good Half-Life? Well, probably not the best one. When it comes to gameplay, E.Y.E is on a completely different wavelength. Half-Life is more linear, structured, while this game is an RPG-infused, semi-open world shooter. But the story is where E.Y.E really shines as a Half-Life. It's cryptic, full of twists, and it throws you into a world that feels just as mysterious as Black Mesa or City 17. And let's not forget that it's built on the Source engine, which gives you some of that familiar, janky but charming feeling. So, if you are starving for another Half-Life and you have played everything else, then E.Y.E is worth a try. But if you're looking for a game that actually feels like Half-Life, well, you might want to have a look at my other videos. And that's all I had for today. If you enjoy this kind of content, a subscribe is always appreciated. And since my list of half-likes is practically endless, I'll be back with another episode soon. And if you'd like to chat about games or give me recommendations, join our Discord. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!